Hi there! So this video is a compilation of my Gen 1 Pokemon Names Explained series that I've been doing as shorts. I've done my best to edit out all the intros and outros to make this a more enjoyable video to watch, so let me know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe and follow along as I'll be starting Gen 2 very soon. Thanks for watching! Have you ever wondered what each Pokemon name means? In English, Pokemon names are known as portmanteaus, which means they mix two or more words together to create a new word. Some examples of this would be brunch, breakfast plus lunch, or spork, spoon plus fork. Let's have a look at some Pokemon examples. How about Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, and Venusaur? Well, each of these Pokemon uses the ending saur, which comes from Greek, meaning lizard, and in this case, dinosaurs. So, let's start with Bulbasaur, with bulb being the beginning stage of certain plants that is kept underground to store food and nutrients. Then we have Ivysaur, with ivy being a type of plant that's covered in leaves that grows up and along walls. And finally Venusaur, with Venus meaning the Venus flytrap, which is a terrifying plant that uses its colourful flower as a mouth to trap and eat insects. Yikes. Today we're looking at Charmander, Charmeleon, and Charizard. Each of these fire Pokemon's names begins with the word char. Char means to burn something, usually with fire, until it becomes black ash. Makes sense for these fire-breathing guys. So let's look closer. Charmander uses the ending mander, which comes from salamander. Now for us, salamanders are amphibians, which seems strange for a fire Pokemon, as amphibians usually live in and around water. However, salamanders are also famous in folklore as mythical creatures associated with, you guessed it, fire. Next we have Charmeleon, which uses the ending melion, meaning chameleon, which is a type of lizard. Cool thing about chameleons is they change their color depending on the environment, so here's a red one to match our fire theme. Finally, one of the most iconic Pokemon, Charizard, which uses the ending izzard, which comes from lizard, which are reptiles and also technically include dragons, so we'll let you off this time, Charizard. Today we're looking at Squirtle, Wartortle, and Blastoise. This group of water Pokemon have a pretty cool concept in their names. They start with referencing small turtles and eventually change into the larger tortoise. Let's start with Squirtle. Squirtle is a combination of the words squirt and turtle. Squirt means to shoot or release a small amount of liquid. Think of a water gun or shampoo bottle. And then turtle is a reptile that lives in the ocean. Funnily enough, in English, the turtles in Finding Nemo are called Crush and Squirt. This is because another meaning for squirt in the past was a young child. This was often used as an insult though, usually to mean small and weak. Next we'll look at Wartortle. This name is a combination of war, tortoise, and turtle. War means a battle or fight, which matches Wartortle's more rebellious looking attitude. The rest of the name, Tortle, is a combination of tortoise and turtle. Tortoises are from the same family as turtles, meaning reptiles, but they live on land and have feet that are more similar to an elephant. Finally, we have Blastoise. This name combines blast and tortoise. Blast means a large explosion, which could be of fire, water, or air. This matches the cannons that Blastoise has on its shoulders. Tortoise is, as we said earlier, the land version of a turtle. So, as Blastoise is the final stage of the evolution line, we have fully changed from turtle all the way to tortoise. Pretty cool. Today we're looking at the first bug Pokemon evolution line, Caterpie, Metapod, and Butterfree. This species of Pokemon is a fun representation of the life of a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. Let's start with Caterpie. This name comes from the word caterpillar, which is the larva or baby stage of a species of insect which will eventually become a butterfly. They come in quite a variety of colors too. The name also uses the ending E, which we often use in English at the end of words to express cute or affectionate feelings. Think of words like cutie or sweetie. Next we have Metapod, which combines the words metamorphosis and pod. Metamorphosis is the process of transformation from one form to another. So in this case, a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. In English, we refer to this stage in a caterpillar's life as chrysalis, and pod then means a small container, usually for vegetables like peas or beans. Finally, we have Butterfree, which combines the words butterfly and free. Butterfly is, of course, the adult stage of a caterpillar's life, and again comes in a variety of colors. Free is used here to mean freedom, meaning without limits, as Butterfree is now free to fly anywhere at once. Bye bye Butterfree. Today we're looking at the next set of bug Pokemon, Weedle, Kakuna, and Beedrill. This evolution line follows a similar concept to Caterpie, however with a bee being the end result rather than a butterfly. Let's start with Weedle. This name combines the words worm and needle. A worm is a small long animal with no arms or legs, in this case referring to a similarly shaped larva form of a baby bee. And a needle is a long, sharp object, like a syringe or thorn on a cactus. In places like Ireland, wee can also mean small, so that's a cute naming coincidence too. Next we have Kakuna. This name is a play on the word cocoon, which is the middle stage of an insect's transformation from larva to fully grown, similar to what we said last episode with Metapod. Finally, we have Beedrill. This name combines the words bee and drill. A bee is an insect known for collecting pollen and creating honey. They also have a stinger at the end of their body, which is a sharp point they can use as a defense to sting a target. And a drill is a tool used to create holes using a sharp point that spins very quickly. Today we're looking at the first regional bird line, Pidgey, Pidgeotto, and Pidgeot. This group of flying type Pokemon all take their name from the pigeon, which is a type of bird. Let's start with Pidgey. Pidgey, as we saw earlier, uses the word pigeon as the base of its name. As for the E at the end, this could mean something similar to what I mentioned before about Caterpie, where putting an E sound at the end of a word can mean cute or adorable, like a baby. Next we have Pidgeotto, which again bases its name on the word pigeon. The otto could potentially come from the Italian suffix otto, which is often used to refer to people and younger animals in a cute way, like acciotto, meaning a baby eagle. Finally, we have Pidgeot, which, you guessed it, also uses pigeon as the base of its name. Some theories point to the ot at the end being a reference to the pronunciation of the word jet. So when we say Pidgeot, it could sound like Pidget. This makes sense, as a jet is a very fast type of aircraft, in reference to Pidgeot being a very fast flyer. Today we're looking at Rattata and Raticate. Let's start with Rattata. Rattata combines the words rat and the onomatopoeia rat-a-tat-tat. A rat is an animal from the rodent family, and is known for having a long tail, pointed nose, and sharp front teeth. And then rat-a-tat-tat is an onomatopoeia, which means a word that's spelt how it sounds, like a sound effect. Some examples of this are bang, boom, and splash. In the case of rat-a-tat-tat, this is used for sharp, repetitive sounds like knocking on a door or gunfire. Next we have Raticate, which combines the words rat and eradicate. Rat is, again, an animal from the rodent family. Eradicate, then, means to destroy or get rid of something. Ironically, eradicate is often used to describe the process of removing rodents from an unwanted space, like eradicating a rat problem in a neighborhood. Today we're looking at two groups of Pokemon, Spearow and Fearow, and Ekans and Arbok. Let's start with the bird Pokemon, Spearow and Fearow. Both of these Pokemon use the sparrow as inspiration for their names. Sparrows are a type of bird that are known to actually bully other birds, which suits the more aggressive design of Spearow compared to Pidgey. Spearow also uses the word spear in its name, which is a sharp pointed weapon used all throughout history. And then Fearow uses the word fear, which is an emotion related to being scared or terrified of something. Next we have Ekans and Arbok, which, well, they're just the words snake and cobra written backwards because these guys are, well, snakes. A snake is a reptile known for having a long body and no limbs. There are of course different types of snakes too, like vipers, boas, anacondas, and cobras. Cobras are known for having wide patterned necks, used to scare and intimidate. So yeah, their names are just these animals' names spelled backwards, but Arbok decided to be fancy and use a K instead of a C when spelling cobra, so good for you, Arbok. Today we're looking at two more very iconic Pokemon, Pikachu and Raichu. Now, normally with this series, I explain Pokemon names by explaining the English words used in them. However, today we're actually going to learn some Japanese. You see, Pikachu has the privilege of being the mascot Pokemon to end all mascot Pokemon, and so got to keep the same name across languages. So, to explain the name Pikachu, we actually have to look at the Japanese meaning behind the name. Pikachu combines the words Pika and Chu, which are both Japanese onomatopoeias, and are used to highlight sound effects. Pika has two meanings. One is the Japanese sound for a sparkle, which could be a spark of electricity, static shock, or electrical conduction. A pika is also a type of rodent animal that is found in mountain regions in Asia. As for chu, it's the Japanese sound for a squeak, like the noise a mouse or a pika makes, which is appropriate as Pikachu is, of course, a mouse. A mouse is another type of rodent mammal like the pika earlier. Raichu then also uses the chu sound as part of its name, but it combines it with the word rai. Rai is the Japanese word for thunder, which is the sound of storm clouds that can often bring lightning with them. So again, related to the concept of electricity. It's pretty cool that these names were actually teaching us in Japanese without us even realizing it. Today we're looking at Sandshrew and Sandslash. These ground-type Pokemon are often neglected when it comes to Generation 1, but that hasn't stopped them from enduring and even giving us a cute regional form. Both names use the word sand in them, which refers to the terrain type found in deserts and on beaches. Sand is the eroded form of rock that has become very small and grainy. For Sandshrew specifically, it also uses the word shrew, which is a small mammal that is part of the same family as hedgehogs and moles. They can be found in many areas around the world, and usually prefer woodland or grassland. Sandslash switches to the word slash for the rest of its name, which refers to the action of swinging or slicing with a sharp object, like a sword, knife, or in Sandslash's case, sharp claws. Today we're looking at a whole bunch of Pokemon. We have Nidoran female, Nidorina, Nidoqueen, and then Nidoran male, Nidorino, and Nidoking. This family of poison ground Pokemon were the first to really emphasize gender as part of the evolution line, which was pretty cool. Let's start with the overall concept. The use of the word Nido, or more specifically the Japanese word Nidoru, which means needle. A needle is a sharp point like a syringe or on a cactus. Each Pokemon in the group uses that word at the beginning of their name, as a reference to their sharp horns or spikes. So for Nidoran, they use the word Nidoru in their names, and then the symbols for male and female to distinguish them from each other. Moving on to Nidorina and Nidorino, they both use the word Nidoru again, but this time combining it with the word rhino. A rhino, or rhinoceros, is a large mammal known for having a large horn above its nose. For Nidorino, this use of the word rhino is more obvious. In an interesting twist, Nidorino and Nidorina actually use Spanish to distinguish their genders. In Spanish, O is often used to represent masculine words, like a niño, meaning boy, whereas A is used to represent feminine words, like niña, a girl. So already we've used Japanese, English, and Spanish to explain the meanings of these names. Finally, we have Nidoqueen and Nidoking, which again use Nidoru at the beginning of their names. This time they use the words queen and king to distinguish their genders. A queen is a female ruler of a kingdom or country, whereas a king is a male ruler. Today we're looking at the normal and eventually fairy-type Pokemon, Clefairy and Clefable. These two Pokemon both take a lot of inspiration from myths and folklore. To begin, both of these Pokemon use the word clef at the beginning of their names. The word clef is used to highlight the key or pitch of the notes played in a line of music. For example, a treble clef or a bass clef. This is appropriate as Clefairy is often found singing or performing under the moonlight. Clefairy then also uses the word fairy in its name. A fairy is a mythological creature known to be playful or mischievous. Basically, they can be friendly or mean depending on their mood or the story. As for Clefable, it uses the word fable in its name, which is a type of story, often about animals, that has a moral or ethical lesson for the reader to interpret. Some examples of fables in Ireland are The Children of Lear, which is about a group of children turned into swans, or The Salmon of Knowledge, which tells the story of a legendary salmon said to give infinite wisdom to whoever eats it. Today we're looking at two more Pokemon that are heavily inspired by folklore and legend. The Fire-type Pokemon Vulpix and Ninetales. Let's start with Vulpix. Vulpix combines the words vulpine and six. Vulpine is an adjective which refers to an association with foxes, which are an animal in the canine family, like a dog or a wolf. There are many other types of foxes, but Vulpix specifically relates to the red fox, which are known for their beautiful red color and big fluffy tail. In some cultures, foxes are believed to be very cunning or crafty, which means they are intelligent and quick thinking, but not necessarily with good intentions. Another word for this is foxy. This then leads us back to the word vulpine, which can also mean to be intelligent but with a predatory quality. Then we have the sixth part of Vulpix's name, referring to the number of tails it has, which is 6. Next we have Ninetales, which combines the words nine and tails. Now you might be thinking this isn't a very cool name. Ninetales has quite literally 9 tails, but there is another side to this name. You see, we have two words here with the same pronunciation, tail and tail. A tail is a part of an animal's body, like on a dog, cat, or fox. And a tale is a type of fictional story. Now, you might still be thinking that, again, this is a very simple name. But wait, there's more. In East Asia, there is a famous legend, or tale, known as the nine-tailed fox. In Japan, they are known as the kitsune. These magical foxes are thought to have incredible power and influence, and were often worshipped as gods. The most powerful form of these beings had 9 tails, so Ninetales could be seen as a representation of this mystical, powerful being. I really recommend looking into this mythology more. They appear in so many forms across East Asian literature and art. Today, we're looking at the normal and fairy-type Pokemon Jigglypuff and Wigglytuff. Let's start with Jigglypuff, the OG Diva Pokemon. Jigglypuff combines the words jiggle and puff. Jiggle means to shake, like jelly or body fat. Think of the movement of jelly if you shake it. And puff means to inflate or inhale deeply, like making something bigger by filling it with air, like a balloon. Or in Jigglypuff's case, this would look like inhaling air into your mouth to make your cheeks look bigger. Next we have Wigglytuff, which combines the words wiggle and tough. Wiggle also means to shake, but with more intention, like wiggling parts of your body, like your toes. And then tough is a misspelling of the word tough, which means hard, strong, or difficult. For example, a tough person, a tough exam, or a tough situation. Today, we're looking at the infamous cave jump scares Zubat and Golbat. These poison flying type Pokemon are infamous for overpopulating many caves across the Pokemon series. Let's start with Zubat, whose name combines the words Zubato and bat. We're back with Japanese onomatopoeias for this one, as Zubato is the sound of hitting a target in Japanese, like a bullseye in darts. It can also mean the sound of piercing or cutting something, like a sword strike. Or it can also mean to be very direct, like someone who speaks very honestly or bluntly, without a filter. The use of this word for Zubat's name could refer to the piercing sound it makes. That or Zubat is just really good at darts. It could also be because it contains the word bat in it, and Zubat is a bat, which is a flying mammal known for using echolocation to see in the dark. Next we have Golbat, whose name combines the words gollop and bat. Gollop means to eat or drink something very quickly, usually in a very greedy way. Appropriate as Golbat's mouth is huge. Golbat also uses the word bat in its name to continue the theme of being a bat. Today we're looking at the grass poison type Pokemon Oddish, Gloom, and one of my Gen 1 favorites, Vileplume. Let's start with Oddish, whose name combines the words odd and radish. Odd means to be strange or weird, which makes sense I suppose because, well, just look at this little guy. And then a radish is a root vegetable, like a carrot or a turnip. Next we have Gloom, whose name is just literally a word already, gloom, which means a kind of dark or depressing atmosphere or person. The adjective form of this word is gloomy. Gloom's name could also be a reference to the word bloom, which is the open flower part of a plant that is often used to represent beauty and positivity, which I'm guessing is used ironically here as gloom definitely fits the moody teenager vibe a bit better. Finally we have Vileplume, a favourite of mine, whose name combines the words vile and plume. Vile means to be disgusting or unpleasant, which is a bit rude if you ask me. Poor Vileplume looks very lovely. The second part of the name, plume, refers to a pattern of feathers or feather-like shapes, like on certain plants, flowers, and of course, birds. You know, I feel irony is the concept of the names this time around, because we're basically calling these guys weird, depressing, and disgusting freaks. I feel we all need to apologize. Today we're looking at two sets of Pokemon, Paris and Parasect, and Venonat and Venomoth. Let's start with Paris, whose name doesn't actually combine any words, and instead just shortens a specific one, Parasite. A parasite is an organism that uses another organism as a source of food, usually to the host organism's detriment. So in the case of Paris, we can assume the mushrooms on its back to be some sort of parasite that is feeding off the main insect body. As for Parasect, it combines the words parasite and insect. An insect can be a variety of creatures, from beetles and mosquitoes to ants and bees. And for poor Parasect, it seems the parasitic mushrooms have spread and taken over the insect body completely. Next we have Venonat, which combines the words venom and nat. Venom refers to a type of poison and is usually injected by an animal through a bite or sting. Think of snakes, spiders, or jellyfish. And a gnat is a small, weaker type of insect, like a fly, and is seen as more of a nuisance for humans rather than any sort of danger. Next we have Venomoth, which combines the words venom and moth. We've already talked about venom, but a moth is a different type of insect altogether. They look closer to butterflies in terms of appearance, but are usually nocturnal, meaning they appear at night, and are attracted to light sources like lamps. And they have a more feathery texture, especially their beautiful eyelashes. Today we're looking at two more sets of Pokemon, Diglett and Dugtrio, and Meowth and Persian. Let's start with Diglett, whose name combines the words dig with the suffix let. Dig is a verb, which means to break the earth and soil to create a hole or tunnel. For humans, we normally use shovels or machinery, but some animals do it with their claws or nose. In Diglett's case, I guess it uses its head. As for the suffix let, it's used at the end of some words to mean small, for example a piglet or booklet. Next we have Dugtrio, whose name combines the words dug and trio. Dug is the past tense of the word dig, so it means the same as what I said earlier for Diglett. And then the word trio means three of something, which makes sense as Dugtrio is just, well, it's just three Diglets really. I mean, do they share the same body under the ground, or what's going on here? For the next pair, we'll start with Meowth, one of the most iconic Pokemon from the original anime series. Sadly, Meowth's name doesn't reference his New York accent from the series. The name is actually quite simple. It's a play on the word meow, which is an English onomatopoeia for the sound a cat makes. Here's a picture of my cat for reference. Next we have Persian, who also doesn't have a very complicated name. It's literally just the word Persian, which is a type of cat. Now, theory time. You might notice that Persian the Pokemon doesn't really look like a Persian cat, but there could be a reference going on here. You see, in the James Bond movie series, there's an infamous villain named Blofeld, who has a Persian cat by his side throughout the movies, which is similar to the Team Rocket leader Giovanni, who has a Persian Pokemon. It might not be a confirmed reference, but I like to think the designers are just big fans of James Bond. Today we're looking at another two sets of Pokemon, Psyduck and Golduck, and Mankey and Primeape. Let's start with Psyduck, whose name combines the words psychic and duck. Psychic means to have supernatural abilities, such as seeing the future or communicating with spirits. It's also a Pokemon type, which Psyduck oddly isn't. The other word used in its name is duck, which is a type of bird typically found on water. Ducks are semi-aquatic birds, which means they have the typical things you would associate with birds, like wings and feathers, but they also have webbed feet and a flat-billed mouth to better suit their life on and around water. They're one of the few animals that are able to travel by land, water, and air. Next we have Golduck, which combines the words gold and duck. Duck, as we mentioned earlier, is a type of bird, and gold is a color, which ironically Golduck isn't. Next we have Mankey, whose name might just look like a misspelling of the word monkey, which technically suits as Mankey is a monkey, but it also has the pronunciation of the word Mankey, which means inferior or worthless, to possibly reflect Mankey's goals of improving its fighting capabilities. Mankey can also mean unpleasant, which also might suit Mankey's more aggressive disposition. Next we have Primeape, whose name combines the words prime and ape. and also looks like a slight misspelling of the word primate. Primates are the overall family of animals that includes monkeys, lemurs, and apes. Apes are a specific type of primate known for having large bodies and moving in a more upright position. And finally, the word prime means peak, or at maximum capability or quality. When someone is at their highest potential physical or mental skill at something, we can say they are in their prime. Today we're looking at one of my favorite Gen 1 Pokemon lines, Growlithe and Arcanine. These fire Pokemon have always been in my top 10, ever since catching one all the way back in Pokemon Red. Let's start with Growlithe, the fire puppy Pokemon. This name combines the words growl and lith. Growl is a sound made by a variety of animals, for example, dogs, wolves, and foxes. It is a deep sound often used as a warning or to show anger. Next is the word lith, which means slim or graceful. This can be used to describe a slim person, meaning an attractive type of thin body. It can also be used to describe animals that are often very graceful, or move in a very agile or fast way, like a lion, leopard, or cat. Next, we have the legendary Pokemon Arcanine, who is not actually a legendary Pokemon, despite what the Pokédex says. This name combines the words arcane and canine. Arcane means something mythical or mysterious, something that isn't commonly known or understood, like a mythical creature or magic. It can also mean something secretive, like a secret process or practice that a lot of people don't understand or know about. The other word, canine, refers to a family of mammals that include dogs, wolves, and foxes. Canine can also mean a type of tooth, specifically the sharp teeth seen in humans, dogs, and other animals, and also vampires. Today we're looking at the water and eventually fighting type Pokemon, Poliwag, Poliwhirl, and Poliwrath. These three Pokemon all share the word Poliwag. A Poliwag is another name for a tadpole, meaning the beginning or baby stage of a frog or toad. Tadpole is the more common scientific name for them, whereas Poliwag is an older, more colloquial term. So with that in mind, let's start with Poliwag, whose name combines the words Poliwag and wag. Wag is a verb which means to shake from side to side, often used with tails, like a dog. Next we have Poliwhirl, whose name combines Poliwag and whirl. Whirl means a circular pattern, like a spiral, seen here on the front side of each of these Pokemon. Finally, we have Poliwrath, whose name combines the word Poliwag with wrath. Wrath means anger or rage, usually associated with a very intense, deep anger, like a need for destruction or revenge, appropriate as Poliwrath adds fighting to its typing. Today, we're looking at the first Psychic-type Pokemon, Abra, Kadabra, and Alakazam. These guys use a unique naming convention. Rather than combining words to express their concepts, they are just named after magic words. Let's start with Abra and Kadabra, as their names are just the word abracadabra separated into two new words. Abracadabra in modern day is used by stage magicians to express a magical reveal or show a magic power. In the past, it was used in incantations or magic spells. It has appeared across a variety of cultures and historical periods, for example in books and codexes, written in Roman and Jewish history. In these cases, it was often seen as a cure for many illnesses and diseases, and if written on an amulet worn by a sick person, it was said to cure them of whatever it was that was affecting them. Next we have Alakazam, which is just the word Alakazam, which is also used by stage magicians as a sort of reveal word, similar to words like tada. In history, it has been considered a nonsense word, but used much more recently than something like abracadabra. In a way, it's almost like an onomatopoeia or sound effect word, but for magic rather than a literal sound. So, as these were the first Psychic-type Pokemon, it makes sense to use such stereotypical magic words in their names. Today, we're looking at the Fighting-type Pokemon, Machop, Machoke, and Machamp. These guys have the achievement of being the first Pokemon to ever wear clothes. Isn't that exciting? To begin, each of the Pokemon in this line use the word macho as part of their names. Macho, or machismo, means to be masculine, but in a more assertive or aggressive way. This can be used positively to mean strong or reliable, but also negatively to mean dominant or narcissistic. Think of a stereotypical tough guy. So let's focus on their names individually. First we have Machop, whose name combines the words macho and chop. Chop means to cut something using a sharp or strong object, like a knife or an axe. It can also mean to cut something with your hand using a karate chop, which is a sharp strike with the side of an open hand. Next we have Machoke, whose name combines the words macho and choke. Choke means to block someone's ability to breathe, either by food getting stuck in their throat, or by putting pressure on their windpipe to prevent air getting in. Finally we have Machamp, whose name combines the words macho and champ. Champ is a shortened version of the word champion, which is someone that is victorious or who has won a challenge or tournament, like someone reaching the top rank in wrestling or other fighting styles, represented here by the champion belt that both Machoke and Machamp wear. Today we're looking at the grass poison type Pokemon, Bellsprout, Weepinbell, and Victreebel. These three Pokemon all use the word bell in their names, which is a metallic cup-shaped object, used to make a musical note when it's hit by something. Think of a church bell or an old-fashioned house service bell. Let's look at them individually to see what else they have going on. First is bellsprout, whose name combines the words bell and sprout. Sprout means when a plant begins to grow from the seed and starts to spread its roots and stem. Next we have weeping bell, which combines the words weeping and bell. Weeping means to cry or show a lot of sad, depressing emotions. Are you okay there, buddy? However, for plants, it can also mean when the branches on a plant are shaped in a downwards movement, so maybe weeping bell isn't that sad after all. Finally, we have victory bell, whose name combines the words victory, tree, and bell. Victory means to win or be victorious at something, like winning a competition, or successfully eating a Team Rocket member. And a tree is a type of plant known for being sturdy and typically quite tall. Today we're looking at two water poison Pokemon, Tentacool and Tentacruel. As the Zubats of the sea, these Pokemon are extremely common across the waters of many regions. Let's start with Tentacool, whose name combines the words tentacle and cool. A tentacle is the arm of a variety of different animals, such as a jellyfish, squid, or octopus. And then cool is an adjective with a few different meanings. For example, to describe a low temperature, like a cool breeze. Or a person, like someone you consider, well, cool, meaning confident or charming in a cool way? I don't think I'm cool enough to describe what cool means, guys. Next we have Tentacruel, whose name combines the words tentacle and cruel. Cruel means to be evil or manipulative in a way that brings suffering to someone, while making the cruel person feel happy or satisfied. Today we're looking at the rock ground Pokemon, Geodude, Graveler, and Golem. These guys have rolled their way through many a region, so let's see what their names are all about. First we have Geodude, whose name combines the words Geo and Dude. Geo can mean two things. One is a prefix relating to the Earth. For example, geology, which is the study of the Earth's physical formation. Geo is also a land formation seen as an inlet along a cliff, like in this image. Dude, on the other hand, is a word used to refer to a person, usually a male, similar to words like bro, lad, or guy. Next we have Graveler, who combines the words gravel with the suffix -er. Gravel is a word used to describe a collection of small rocks and stones found along dirt roads, stony beaches, or even in some gardens. And then is used as a suffix at the end of words used to describe professions or hobbies, like teacher, footballer, and rider. Finally we have Golem, whose name is just the word golem. A golem is a mythical figure from Jewish folklore and is often seen as a strong, sturdy protector, like a big stone or clay bodyguard. However, in a lot of stories about golems, they typically become destructive and need to be stopped or deactivated before causing too much chaos. Today we're looking at two sets of Pokemon, Ponyta and Rapidash, and Slowpoke and Slowbro. Let's start with the fire Pokemon Ponyta and Rapidash. Ponyta's name comes from the word pony, which is a small horse known for having a stockier build and short legs. The ending of the name, ta, could either be referring to the word ponytail, which is a hairstyle similar to the tail of a pony, or possibly the Spanish suffix ita, which means small. Next we have Rapidash, whose name combines the words rapid and dash. Rapid means to move very quickly, and dash means to run very quickly. So basically, Rapidash's name is just quick. Next we have the water psychic Pokemon, Slowpoke and Slowbro. Slowpoke's name is just a colloquial slang word, slowpoke, which is what you can call someone when they're moving or reacting too slowly for your liking. And then Slowbro combines the words slow and bro. Slow means to move or act in a delayed way, basically, not fast. And then bro is a word used to refer to a brother or a guy, similar to words like dude. Today we're looking at three Pokemon, the electric steel type Pokemon Magnemite and Magneton, and the flying normal type Pokemon Farfetch'd. Let's start with Magnemite, whose name combines the words magnet and might. A magnet is an object with magnetic properties, which attracts or repels other metallic objects using a magnetic field. And then the word might is used as a slang word to refer to something small, like a tad or smidge. Mite is also a type of insect, seen here in this picture, but I doubt that has much of a relation to our metallic friend here. Next is Magneton, whose name combines the words magnet and ton. Ton is a measurement of weight, 1,000 kilograms to be exact, but the Pokedex says Magneton is 60 kilos, so maybe a bit of an exaggeration here. Next up is Farfetch'd, whose name is a play on the expression far-fetched, which means something that's unbelievable or very unlikely, such as a duck holding a leek. Today we're looking at four Pokemon, the flying normal type Doduo and Dodrio, and the water ice type Seel and Dugong. Let's start with Doduo and Dodrio. These bird Pokemon both use the word dodo in their names. A dodo is an extinct flightless bird. They were large, heavy birds with big beaks, but were sadly very quickly made extinct once humans came into contact with them. Doduo specifically uses the word duo in its name as well, which is a word used to describe a group of two, or a pair, referencing the fact that Doduo has two heads. And then Dodrio uses the word trio, although spelled drio here to fit the dodo wording. Trio, surprisingly, means a group of three, which is because of course Dodrio has, can you believe it, 3 heads. Next we have Seel and Dugong. Now, brace yourself. Seel's name is actually the word seal. which is an aquatic animal similar to a sea lion, possibly the most complex Pokemon name yet if you ask me. Next we have Dugong, whose name combines the words dew and dugong. Dew refers to the moisture often found in the grass or in fields in the morning, and then a dugong is another aquatic animal. Today we're looking at 4 Pokemon, the poison type Grimer and Muck, and the water ice type Shelder and Cloyster. Let's start with Grimer and Muck, whose names are actually pretty straightforward. Grimer uses the word grime, which is a type of dirt that's usually very sticky or difficult to remove, like on a dirty car or window. And then Muck is just a misspelling of the word muck, which is a type of dirt that's usually made up of wet soil, dirt, or rubbish. So basically these 2 Pokemon are just literally living versions of the substances they're named after. Next we have Shelder, whose name uses the word shell, which means a type of hard cover on something, like a turtle, clam, or snail. In Shelder's case, this is most likely a seashell, which is the hard exterior of the home of many aquatic animals, like oysters or sea snails. Shelder's name could also be a play on the word shelter, which means a home or space that's protected from external dangers like the weather. Next we have Cloyster, whose name uses the word oyster, which is a type of shellfish known for having a very hard, sharp external shell, protecting a pearl on the inside. Cloyster's name could also be a play on the word cloister, which is a sheltered area connecting different buildings in a monastery or cathedral. Maybe Cloyster is considering a life as a priest? Today we're looking at the first ever ghost Pokemon, Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar. These ghost poison type Pokemon are some of my absolute favorites. Let's start with Ghastly, whose name is a mix of the words gas and ghastly. Gas is a state of matter, like a solid or a liquid, with no set size or shape. For example, smoke, steam, or in Ghastly's case, an airborne poison cloud. The word gas is then used to alter the spelling of the word ghastly, which means scary or terrifying. Next we have Haunter, whose name uses the word haunt, which means to inhabit a place with the intention to scare or disturb anyone who enters. Finally we have Gengar, whose name is a shortened version of the word doppelganger, which means a look-alike or a double of someone. The idea here is that as Gengar is themed around shadows, it is a double of something. Many fan theories even suggest this could be a doppelganger or a ghost of a Clefable. Spooky. Let's start with the rock ground type Pokemon, Onix, whose name is just a misspelling of the word onyx, which is a type of rock known for having a very striking black color. Next we have the psychic type Pokemon, Drowsy and Hypno. For Drowsy, its name is a play on the word drowsy, which means to feel tired or sleepy, which then ties nicely into Hypno, whose name shortens the word hypnosis, which means to cause someone to go into a state of consciousness, like a trance, where they become easy to manipulate or influence. For example, making someone fall asleep, like Hypno does. Next we have the water Pokemon Krabby and Kingler. Krabby's name combines the words crab and crabby. A crab is an aquatic animal, and then crabby means someone who is very easy to irritate or annoy. Next we have Kingler, whose name is a play on the word king, which normally means a male ruler of a kingdom, but in Kingler's case, this is also a reference to the king crab species, known for being large and sort of terrifying looking. Today we're looking at 2 sets of Pokemon, the electric type, Voltorb and Electrode, and the grass psychic type, Exeggcute and Exeggutor. Let's start with Voltorb, whose name combines the words volt and orb. A volt is a unit of electricity, used when measuring the voltage of something, basically how strong of an electrical current it can hold. And then an orb is a spherical shape or object, like a Pokeball. Next we have Electrode, whose name is just the word electrode. An electrode is a conductor that can carry electricity in and out of an object, for example gold, copper, or platinum. Next we have Exeggcute, whose name combines the words execute and egg. Execute means to kill in an execution style, like with a guillotine, or to carry out or begin a plan or process, like to execute a strategy. And then an egg is a reproduction method of a few different animals, like birds or reptiles, where they lay a spherical object that contains the baby. Next we have Exeggutor, whose name combines the words egg and executor. So this word can either be executor, which means an exterminator or killer, or it can mean executor, which means a leader or a higher position in a company who orders plans and actions to be started or done. Today we're looking at the ground Pokemon, Cubone and Marowak, and the fighting Pokemon, Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan. Let's start with Cubone, whose name combines the words cub and bone. A cub is the name of the baby of a lot of predatory animals, like a baby bear, lion, or tiger. And then a bone is a piece of the white structural skeleton inside our bodies. Next we have Marowak, whose name combines the words marrow and whack. Marrow is the soft interior of bones where blood cells are produced, and whack is an onomatopoeia, or a sound effect, used to express the sound of something being hit hard with a weapon, like a stick or club. Next we have Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan, who use a pretty unique naming convention. They both start with the word hit, which means to attack something or someone with a weapon, or with a punch or kick. And then Mon is short for the word monster, or in this case, Pokemon. But then they each use the words Lee and Chan, which are references to the famous Chinese martial arts masters and action movie heroes Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan. Pretty cool detail. Today we're looking at the normal type Pokemon, Lickitung, the poison type Pokemon, Coughing and Wheezing, and the rock ground Pokemon, Rhyhorn and Rhydon. Let's start with Lickitung, whose name is a combo of the words lick and tongue. Lick is a verb which means to touch something with your tongue, which is a muscle in your mouth used for speaking, eating, drinking, and licking. Next we have Coughing and Wheezing, whose names are just misspellings of the words coughing and wheezing. Cough means to expel or push air out of your mouth, usually when you're sick, and then wheezing is the sound made when someone is having difficulty breathing, again usually when they're sick, or laughing. Next we have Rhyhorn and Rhydon, who both use the word rhino at the beginning of their names, which is a large mammal found in Africa and Asia. For Rhyhorn, its name also uses the word horn, which is a hard growth on certain animals, like on a bull, goat, or rhino. Rhydon's name instead uses the word don, which either means a gentleman in Spanish or Italian, or a mafia boss. So basically, Rhydon is the boss, appropriate as Giovanni has one. Today we're looking at 3 Pokemon, the normal type Chansey, the grass type Tangela, and the normal type Kangaskhan. Let's start with Chansey, whose name is just a play on the word chance, but with C at the end, as the sound of E usually sounds pretty cute. Chance refers to possibility, which is fitting as Chansey is quite a rare Pokemon, so you're pretty lucky if you have the chance to see one. Next we have Tangela, whose name is a play on the word tangle, which refers to when multiple long objects get stuck and mixed together, like hair, vines, or string. In this case, vines, as Tangela's body is a mess of tangled vines blocking its face. Next we have Kangaskhan, whose name combines the word kangaroo with the name Genghis Khan. A kangaroo is an animal found in Australia known for its strong legs and the pouch on its abdomen that holds its baby. So while Kangaskhan might not necessarily look like a kangaroo, it follows the same baby in a pouch idea, so I guess we can accept that. Genghis Khan, then, was an infamous Mongolian conqueror who gathered various tribes around Mongolia into one military group and spread this empire across Asia. So I guess Genghis Khan has the potential to be a very dominant ruler or conqueror. Better watch out, Kanto. Let's have a look at some water Pokemon. Today we have Horsea and Seadra, Goldeen and Seaking, and Staryu and Starmie. Let's start with Horsea, whose name is a rearrangement of the word seahorse, which is an aquatic animal with a horse-shaped head and curled tail. Horsea could also be a play on the word horsey, which is a cute name used by young children when referring to a horse. Next we have Seadra, whose name combines the words sea and dragon. A sea is a large body of water, like the ocean, and then a dragon is a mythical fire-breathing creature. Next we have Goldeen, whose name combines the words goldfish and queen. A goldfish is a type of fish that is extremely common as a first pet for a lot of kids, and a queen is a female ruler of a kingdom. Next we have Seaking, whose name combines the words sea and king. Simple enough. King is a male ruler of a kingdom, and sea was explained earlier with Seadra. Finally, we have Staryu and Starmie, who both use the word star in their name, in a clever reference to them being based off of starfish and also having a connection to space. And then they use misspellings of the words you and me at the end of their names, because it sounds cute, I guess. Today we're looking at 3 Pokemon, the Psychic type, Mr. Mime, the Bug Flying type, Scyther, and the Psychic Ice type, Jinx. Let's start with Mr. Mime, whose name uses the word mime, with the formal title of Mr. Mr. is just a title used to refer to men in formal situations, coming from the word Mr. And then a mime is a form of performance art or comedy. Mimes use exaggerated body language and facial expressions, with a specific makeup style, to perform and tell stories. They often use these performances without props, and imply invisible objects are around them. Next we have Scyther, whose name is a play on the word scythe, which is a farming tool or weapon with a long curved blade. It is often used to cut grass or hay. Next we have Jinx, whose name is a misspelling of the word jinx, which can either be a magic spell or curse, someone who always brings bad luck, or something you say when you and another person say the same thing at the same time, in a type of coincidence or joke game. Today we're looking at 4 Pokemon, the electric type Electabuzz, the fire type Magmar, the bug type Pinsir, and the normal type Tauros. Let's start with Electabuzz, whose name combines the words electric and buzz. Electric, just like the type implies, is anything that uses electricity to function, like computers, TVs, and lights. Buzz is an onomatopoeia used to represent the low humming sound of electricity or static, like when you stand beside something charged with electricity and it makes a sort of vibrating sound. Next we have Magmar, whose name combines the words magma and mar. Magma is the extremely hot melted rock inside the earth or found in a volcano, called lava when it erupts from the surface. And to mar is to destroy or ruin the quality of something. Next we have Pinsir, whose name is just a play on the word pincer, which is the sharp pointed claw of a crab or lobster, or the mouthpieces of beetles, seen on Pinsir's head. Finally we have Tauros, whose name is a misspelling of Taurus, which is a mythical Greek bull and also a star sign represented by a bull. Today we're looking at 4 Pokemon, the water and eventually also flying type Magikarp and Gyarados, the water-ice type Lapras, and the normal type Ditto. Let's start with Magikarp and Gyarados. Magikarp's name is a combination of the words magic and carp. Magic is the practice of spells and illusions, and can also be used to describe things that we can't explain using logic or reasoning. And then a carp is a type of fish. This name nicely connects to the origin of Magikarp's evolution, which comes from a Chinese legend about carp that are able to swim up and jump over a dragon's gate, which is a waterfall, and then turn into dragon, a metaphor to teach that perseverance will always lead to success. This leads us to Gyarados, whose name doesn't actually use English to establish it, but instead was a name chosen because of its force, according to Ken Sugimori, the original designer and character artist of Pokemon. Although some people speculate that its name could also be connected to the Japanese word Gyakutsu, which means to slaughter, which in turn means to destroy or kill in a very violent way. Next we have Lapras, whose name is also quite different from the rest of the Pokemon so far. Its name has various connections and theories. One example is it could be named after the French mathematician Pierre-Simon Laplace, who very thoroughly studied the sea and tide movements, amongst many other things. Lapras could also be named after the French word Laplace, which means the seat, as Lapras is famously the surf sprite used in earlier Pokemon games, as well as being Ash and Company's main form of sea transport in the anime. Finally, we have Ditto, a Pokemon with the ability to copy and mimic any other Pokemon. Fitting then that its name is a word we already use in English, Ditto, which means me too. We often say ditto to express agreement or similar thoughts as another person, rather than repeating everything that they have just said. Today we're looking at the first ever set of evolutions. We have the normal type Eevee, the water type Vaporeon, the electric type Jolteon, and the fire type Flareon. Let's start with Eevee, whose name is pretty clever. So, based on the pronunciation, it sounds like EV, which could be short for the word evolution. And then the name itself is what we call a palindrome, meaning it is the same word spelled forward and backwards. Pretty cool considering Eevee was the first Pokemon to have multiple evolutions and evolution methods. Next we have each of the first set of evolutions, who all use Eon at the end of their names. Eon refers to a very long period of time. Think of millions of years, fitting as that would also be the duration of how long evolution usually takes. So first we have Vaporeon, whose name uses the word vapor, which is an evaporated form of a liquid, like water, for example mist, steam, or fumes. Next we have Jolteon, whose name uses the word jolt, which refers to either a sudden movement, like someone waking up suddenly and their leg or arm moving quickly as if they are falling, or it can refer to a shock of electricity when you touch something static or charged. Finally we have Flareon, whose name uses the word flare, meaning a burst of fire or heat, like a solar flare or a flare gun used to signal an emergency. Today we're looking at 5 Pokemon: the normal type Porygon, the rock-water types Ammonite and Amistar, and Kabuto and Kabutops. Let's start with the virtual mystery that is Porygon, whose name is actually not that much of a mystery. It's just a misspelling of the word polygon, which is a shape with multiple sides, like a triangle or a pentagon. Next we have Ammonite and Amistar, whose names are both a play on the word ammonite, which are an extinct group of sea creatures with coiled shapes and hard shells, fitting as Ammonite and Amistar are both fossil Pokemon, and fossils are the preserved remains of many ancient species. For Ammonite, it also uses the misspelling of the suffix "ite" at the end of its name, which comes from the Greek word ites, which refers to either a follower of something or a mineral. I would go with the latter here, as being connected to rocks and minerals suits the rock-type Ammonite. Amistar uses the word star at the end of its name because it's a star, but really it's more likely because a star is a pointed shape, and Amistar definitely has points. Next you have Kabuto and Kabutops, who both base their names on the word Kabuto, which is a Japanese helmet worn by warriors and samurai, fitting as both of these Pokemon are pretty helmet-shaped. Kabutops also uses the word top in its name, as it could have been some sort of apex predator during ancient Pokemon times. Today we're looking at 2 Pokemon, the rock-flying type Aerodactyl and the normal type Snorlax. Let's start with Aerodactyl, whose name combines the words aero and pterodactyl. Aero is a prefix, which comes from the Greek word air, and is used to refer to things related to wind, air, and the sky. For example, aerodynamics, the study of how gases like air interact with moving objects like airplanes, aerosol, like deodorant sprays that disperse gas into the air, and aerobic exercises, also known as cardio, and focused on breathing and using oxygen for energy. And then a pterodactyl is an ancient flying dinosaur species. If you've seen Jurassic Park 3, you'll know them well. Next we have Snorlax, whose name combines the words snore and lax. Snore means to breathe loudly while sleeping, often when someone is in a deep sleep. And then lax refers to lazy or low energy, either physically or emotionally. A lax person could be very lazy and relaxed, but also they could be very easygoing and not very strict. It can also mean that they're very neglectful of responsibilities or rules. Today we're looking at the first ever Dragon-type Pokemon, Dratini, Dragonair, and Dragonite. Each of these Pokemon uses the word dragon in their name. which is a mythical creature known for its large wings and fire-breathing abilities. So first let's start with Dratini, whose name combines the word dragon with a misspelling of the word tiny. Tiny means very small, which fits, as Dratini is just a little baby. Next we have Dragonair, whose name combines the words dragon and air. Air can mean many things: the sky, the atmosphere, the oxygen we breathe, but also it can be used to describe the aura or vibe someone or something has. For example, an air of mystery or majesty. So for Dragonair, the word air could mean the skies it can fly through, or the majestic energy it brings when it appears. Finally, we have Dragonite, whose name combines the word dragon with a misspelling of the word knight. A knight is a warrior found in medieval times, and are known for holding honor and justice in high regard, fitting as Dragonite seems to be a very trustworthy and kind dragon, rather than being terrifying or destructive. Well, today we've finally done it. We're at the end of the first generation of Pokemon, from Bulbasaur all the way now to Mew and Mewtwo. So let's see what their names are all about. Well, actually, these names might be either some of the simplest or the trickiest that we've seen so far. There are a lot of different theories out there about the names of these Pokemon, so let's have a look. Ironically, Mewtwo comes before Mew in the Pokédex, but I'm going to break convention and start with Mew this time instead. Mew's name is either very cute and simple, or pretty complex and scientific, depending on the theory you follow. On one hand, it could be a misspelling of the word meow, which is the sound a cat makes, and is often considered to be a very cute noise. Suits the way Mew pronounces its name in the first Pokemon movie, and generally, Mew is very cute. On the other hand, Mew could be a play on the Greek letter mu, which is a letter used quite often in maths and statistics and other scientific fields. Some of its meanings can be to represent the mean or average population from which evolution will come from, the mutation rate in population genetics, and the standard gravitational matter of a celestial body. Wow. All of these pretty much suit Mew, as Mew is considered to be the base or first Pokemon. So it makes sense that other Pokemon are evolutions of Mew. This also ties into a lot of the DNA topics in the first Pokemon movie, especially with cloning. But yeah, it's quite scientific, so if someone more qualified would like to help me out in the comments, that would be great. Anyway, Mewtwo is a clone of Mew, so Mew times 2, as in a double or a copy, or a clone. So a bit less complex, but still pretty cool.